okay, what are your kind of initial thoughts, Dave? I have a few things that I have thought about this movie, and I want to get excited. I want to get excited for all these Marvel movies. I want to get excited for all these DC movies, all of them above. But I have something I want to kind of talk about, and we've kind of talked about this in the past with other things. But what are your initial thoughts?
This is gonna sound real bad, but I just don't care. Like at this point, I just don't care. And I think the reasoning behind it is a few things. And I don't know what you want to jump in and what you want to talk about, but like, I don't know. I think first things first is when I watch when I watch the trailer, I'm very confused in the sense of where GC is still going, right? Because when they initially talked about this, they're doing like a rebirth, right? They're bringing on James Gunn. They're revamping all of the new franchises, right? And then I look at this trailer and I'm like, this is not the origin story of Superman. Like, why are they starting at this point? They're starting so far into the career of Superman. Like, if you watch the trailer, you see Lex Luthor, like you see appearances of Crypto. Like, dude, Crypto should not even be close to being in an origin story. You know what I mean? And it's like, I still don't understand what they're doing, because they came out and they said, we're going to start over. We're going to revamp it. We're going to do all the characters justice. We're going to do it right. And then they immediately jump into like volume 13 of the Superman comic.
Do you think it's kind of one of those things that the story's been beaten before? So like, okay, we're gonna make it our own kind of story now. It's because this Superman story's been done time and time again, kind of like Batman. It's been done time and time again. So you think they're just skipping the origin part and just going straight to the juicy parts of the Superman story?
See, but I don't think I think that's the wrong move. I
Yeah.
think no matter what you do here, right, the Superman story has been beaten to death.
Right.
It's been beat. Every single thing about Superman has been beaten to death. You know,
Right.
because it's just such an old, iconic franchise, and it's been done over and over and over so many times that it's like, I don't know, the whole thing has been beaten to death, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to tell me that you want to revamp the franchises, like every single one of them, you want to do a revamp, you want to do it over, you want to do the characters justice, I want to see your interpretation of the origin, right? Because this doesn't feel new to me, right? It doesn't feel like they're revamping a series. I feel it. This is supposed to be like their initial, like, we're doing everything brand new, and I still feel like I'm jumping into like Superman Part 4 right now. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of with you, to be
You
honest.
feel that?
And that's kind of where I was going to take it a little bit. I think it's not so much what they're doing specifically. I think it's, and this is what I've been thinking about all week before like talking about this movie and just superhero movies in general. I think it's superhero fatigue. You know what I mean? I think we might be in this state of like, it's just another superhero movie and it's the same formula. You know what I mean? Like, they have this setup. Oh, it's one big bad guy, this epic battle in the end, it's over. And it's the same story of superheroes every single movie. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just getting fatigue of these superhero movies. And I will say, watching the trailer, I think the cinematics of this movie are going to be really good. I think it's going to have
Agreed.
really good special effects and
Agreed.
just visuals in general. But in terms of storyline, it's just going to be the same old storyline that's in every single one of these superhero movies, and same old. And that's kind of where I'm at with these. It's just, I'm getting the same thing every time we watch these movies now.
I think I have a theory behind why you're getting fatigue on it, because like we talked about, this is supposed to be a revamp for DC, right? It's supposed to feel fresh. It's supposed to feel new. You're supposed to feel excited about it. But I think if you watch that trailer, the number one thing that I kind of took away from it was James Gunn's influence on these franchises. It feels as though he has a very specific style. And I had the idea of like when he left Marvel and came to DC, because typically DC comics are much darker than Marvel. Marvel is always been a little bit more campy, a little bit more fun. DC has always kind of been, the dark horse, for lack of better words, right? They've always been a little darker, a little more moody, a little bit more, evil and scary. You know what I mean? And he had the opportunity to kind of like do that. But if you watch the trailer, I feel like I'm watching Superman in a Marvel movie. It feels like a Marvel movie.
I was thinking the same exact thing. Like if it seems really light and hearted or lighthearted, and just no like feeling of that we get with Dark Knight and with the Batman with Robert Pattinson. I didn't feel like that grittiness of it.
The DC grittiness, it's not there. He took the DC characters and made them into the campy Marvel versions. And I could see why he did it, because he had so much success with the Marvel movies, but like the DC fans don't want that. That's why they like DC. It's darker, and I think that just got kind of thrown out the window.
And looking at Superman himself, talking about campiness, I don't understand. Like, this guy's skinny. This character, he's not like a jacked Superman. I don't know. I never really read the comics, so I can't like speak on that. But like every other iteration I've like seen of Superman that I've come to know is like he's this big, jacked, ripped dude that will just tear everything apart. He looks kind of scrawny and weak.
Character design, I mean, I don't know. I was sad to see Henry Cavill go. I thought he was a great Superman. I thought he was great. I thought he was a great Superman. I thought he was a Clark Kent. Not to say anything bad about this guy. I mean, it looks like he's playing the part the way that he needs to play the part. I don't know. I just think the overall aesthetic. I think maybe like the feel of Superman, maybe you're just not super on board with it just because the overall aesthetic of the movie just isn't right.
But yeah, like you said, I don't think David Corenswet. I don't know. Corenswet.
I'm glad you went
David.
to say the name. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm gonna say David.
I appreciate you, bro.
I think he's gonna play the part well, given what he's like, how the movie's supposed to be portrayed. I think he's gonna do well in that sense. And I really like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I think he looks like he's gonna play it pretty good. Again, a little bit more campy, lighthearted, but just kind of from what I've seen, I think it looks really good. And man, I love I'm gonna blank on his last name. I love Nathan. What's his last name? Fillion. Nathan. Yeah, Nathan Fillion. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
He's in The Rookie, and he's in a couple other things. He's in a couple Marvel's movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think specifically the third one.
Yeah.
But I think I have low expectations for this movie because of how fatigued I think I am of all these superhero movies writing the same formula, and the fact that James Gunn is bringing that same kind of feel as Guardians over. And I want this to be successful. I want DC to turn around and give Marvel a run for their money, but at the same time, I just don't expect it to be something refreshed and feel extremely new.
I think this movie is actually going to be very successful. And I think the reasoning behind it is just all the hype around it. I think people are going to go see the movie. And I think the trailer did a good enough job to get butts in seats for people to at least be interested enough to want to check it out. I want to check it out. I want to see what he does. You know what I mean? Because it's for the first real attempt at revamping a franchise. I'm keeping expectations low as well. You know, going back to the Marvel thing, if you, honestly, if you kind of look around, do a little bit of digging, if you look at the cast, you can already see that they've casted a Green Lantern, a Hawk Girl, a Supergirl, and of course, Crypto's in the movie. I feel like it's going to have that Marvel flow where they just kind of throw a bunch of characters and stuff at you and just hope that you latch on to like one specific part of it instead of the whole movie as a whole. Which is sad, but I don't know. For the grand scheme of things, I feel like it's going to probably be the most successful DC movie in a very, very long time. Yeah.
Do you think this movie is going to be better than like Batman versus Superman and then the Superman with Henry Cavill?
I think it's well, Batman versus Superman is easy.
Okay. Well, how about this? Quality wise, do you think it's going to be a better movie than the first Henry Cavill Superman?
Oh, that's a tough call, dude. That's a tough call. I think I think if you are more interested in the CGI fighting aspects of the movie, gonna be a better movie than the Henry Cavill. But I think if you're more interested in the actual story of Superman, I think the Henry Cavill movie is probably gonna be better.
Okay.
'Cause James Gunn doesn't really lean heavy on story.
Yeah.
He's like the Michael Bay of comic books. You know, it's a lot of like explosions and blowing and, you know, blow stuff up and let's throw a million characters at you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, the story gets lost a little bit. And I think, like I said, I think this is going to be a very successful movie. I want it to do well. I want DC to do well because I am a DC fan. I'm also kind of afraid that, like, if this movie does well, which I think it's going to do, I fear for the other franchises that I really love because I just don't know if they're going to be able to do a Batman. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do a Flash or if they're going to be able to do like a John Constantine or something. Like, I just don't know if they're going to be able to tap into that like kind of darker side. And I don't want to see campy Batman. You know what I mean? I don't want to see campy John Constantine. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want that. Yeah.
So each Superman movie had the same exact budget, like 225 million. So I was like wondering, I was like, okay, I wonder which is going to have a higher budget. But I definitely agree with you. I think if you're looking for more of that like action and explosion, I think that this one's going to have a bit better feel than the Henry Cavill Superman. But story wise, I don't think it's going to have as much depth as the first Superman or the Henry Cavill Superman. Granted, was it my favorite movie back in the day? Man of Steel is the name that they went with it back then. I don't think it's going to be story wise as good, but that's not to say that it's not going to be a fun. I think it's going to be a fun watch. Is it going to be better than Dune to me? Yes, it is. People in the comments on TikTok.
Adam's real salty on the Dune comment.
It was just so funny, but no, it's because the large explosions. But overall, I'm going to give this movie a fighting shot. And I think, like you said, a lot of people are the trailers got their butts in the seats. Let's see if they can hold on to that, spark and that hype around it throughout the whole movie and the revamp of the DCEU. So
yeah, but I'm excited to see what he does. I wish it nothing but the best. I'm keeping my expectations low. I kind of have my ideas kind of loaded here on what I think I'm going to see when I see it. So I won't be too disappointed if that's exactly what I see. I do think it's going to be fun. There's going to be fun parts in the movie without a doubt. We saw a lot of really cool stuff in the trailer action wise. There's going to be tons of action. And I think if you're just going for something visual, you want to have a good time. You want to, watch Superman fly around and laser eyes and punch a bunch of stuff and lift up buildings and, throw airplanes and stuff. Like, you're going to get it. So if that's what you're looking for, check it out. But I'm definitely going to check it out. And then I'm just going to quietly sit and pray that no one touches Batman.
It's going to be touched.
I don't want it touched.
Okay. Here's another random question. Do you think they need to move on from Superman and Batman? Like, obviously, it's the most beloved characters in DC, and you could say that about Spider-Man and Marvel and things like that. But do you think they need to bring out some more of these more different characters? How they did with Blue Beetle, which I thought Blue Beetle movie was okay compared to some of the other DC movies. The Flash was garbage with Ezra Miller, but I think that Blue Beetle one was okay. It wasn't. Definitely not the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst DC movie.
I think there's specific story arcs that you can kind of introduce these characters to fans still in the context of using your home run hitters like Superman, Batman. You know what I mean? Like, there's story arcs that you can bring other characters in. I think when you look at how Marvel did it, I think they did it right, leaning heavy on Iron Man, obviously Avengers, stuff like that. They leaned on the heavy hitters, and that kind of allowed them to open the doors to bring in these lesser known
like Guardians
characters,
of the Galaxy,
like Guardians and stuff like that, right? So I think DC needs to do the same thing. I think they're doing it the right way, right? Because you don't want to say, we're launching a brand new series, and then, you end up with a $225 million Blue Beetle movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to work for you guys. So
that makes sense. So you need the movie to kind of set the stage and paint the picture to get in love with these other types of characters rather than, like you said, this big Blue Beetle movie that was introduced on its own, not with other big characters.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you need to build trust, right? Like, you need to build trust that, like, you put out 5 movies and people really love them and they're kind of big things, right? Now people trust you when you say there's a Deathstroke movie coming out because people don't know who Deathstroke is, right? But the history says that it's going to be a good movie. In the grand scheme of things, it's going to be a good movie.
If
you know
this
what I mean?
one does well, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're doing it right. Yeah.